Did you get a waxed amaryllis as a gift? What we call amaryllises are bulb plants that come from tropical to subtropical regions in Central to South America. There are more than 100 species growing in jungles, dry grasslands, and some are epiphytes growing on trees. There are hundreds of hybrids and cultivars. Botanists place them in the genus Hippeastrum. They put a couple of species from South Africa in the genus Amaryllis. So with my apologies to botanists, the rest of us are going to continue calling these plants amaryllises. So what do you do with a waxed amaryllis after it's done flowering, like this one? In nature, these bulbs go dormant for a while during the dry season. They then start growing some roots before sending up one or more flower stalks. The flowers may produce seeds as the photosynthetic leaves start growing. And the wet season takes over. So during dormancy, someone has dipped this dormant bulb in wax. There may be a plastic bag on the bulb first, and there may be a wire base to keep it upright, which might have been a good idea for this one. I've seen some bulbs that looked waxed but are actually in plastic pots. The dormant waxed bulb is shipped to stores. The bulb can't send out any roots or very many roots due to the wax coating. It would normally have done that. At some point, the bulb will begin to send up flower stalks anyway. The growth of flower stalks is powered by carbohydrates stored in the bulb. The flowers are not likely to produce seeds, and we don't want them anyway. So cut off the flowers as they die. There was a bunch of them here that I got cut off earlier. And then cut the whole flower stalk off after the last flower dies. Being careful not to damage any leaves that may have started to grow. This bulb has a third flower stalk starting to come up. Right in the middle here. Wax bulbs are intended to be thrown away when they're done blooming, just like a cut flower in a vase. There's no mess, no potting soil, no watering, or any other care. Just enjoy the flowers and then toss it out. Now I know you're watching this video because you could never do that. So you want to know how to get it to bloom next year. Here's the problem. The bulbs couldn't grow any roots, didn't get watered, and it consumed a lot of carbohydrates. The bulb is now at its weakest point, and you'll have to take really good care of it for the next year. It may be so weak that it may not recover enough to bloom the first year, so you may not see flowers for 2 years. You don't have to wait until it's done blooming if you don't want to, like I'm going to go ahead and cut these off now, and there's still a third stalk coming up. Now that the bulb is smaller, when I cut it, it's going to be a smaller bulb on the inside, and so I'm going to pot it so that it can start rooting. Now if you find any rotting areas or soft areas, you can cut those off, but then you'll have a partial bulb that'll take even longer to get back into being a flowering stage. So the second thing is, after you take the wax off, is try not to damage any of the roots that are embedded in the wax. And if you break off some of the roots, it may be a good idea to wait a day before planting the bulbs so that the broken roots can kind of scab over. This will help prevent disease organisms from entering the wounds. Third, find a flower pot that's only a 1/2 inch to 1 inch wider than the bulb. Use any houseplant potting soil. I usually add a little bit more sand for better drainage. Fourth, plant the bulb so that about 1/3 of the bulb is above the soil. Fifth, water the soil and put it in a bulb in the pot in a warm sunny spot where leaves can appear. Don't worry if the leaves don't appear for a few weeks. The leaves may need to be staked up if there's not enough wind blowing them around. Their own weight may cause them to flop over, so you may need to stake them. Sixth, take the pot outside for the summer. Place it in a sunny spot and keep the pot watered. Seventh, in the fall, stop watering and bring the pot inside so the bulb can go through a several month-long dormancy period. If everything works well, the bulb may produce flowers when it comes out of dormancy. If not, do the whole process again for another year. This says it's a giant amaryllis. This giant amaryllis is not a giant. The red lion variety of the red ones is a bigger one than a lot of the other varieties, but in this one it doesn't say what variety it is, but the bulb of the red lion, a big one, would have a hard time fitting across the diameter of this pot. This one is clearly much smaller than that. So let's take the wax off, find a good spot to dig in here. You can see the bulb is a lot smaller than it was when it started because the wax would have been sticking right on the bulb. I've potted this one so it can grow new roots and be stronger while the flower stalk on the third flower stalk comes up. And this is Jeff with a Greener View. Thanks for watching.